There has been a nuclear accident in the Soviet Union, and the Soviets have admitted that it happened. The Soviet version is this. One of the atomic reactors at the Chenobyl atomic power plant near the city of Kiev was damaged, and there is speculation in Moscow that people were injured and may have died. The Soviets may have been fairly quick to acknowledge the accident because evidence in the form of mild nuclear radiation had already reached beyond the Soviet borders to Scandinavia. We begin with ABC's Dean Reynolds.
This was the aftermath of the 1986 Chernobyl nuclear disaster. A massive power surge had caused Reactor 4 to combust and spew radioactive materials and isotopes into the atmosphere. It affected more than 5 million people all across northern Europe. The Chernobyl nuclear power plant was started in 1970 near the still-standing city of Pripyat, Ukraine. Reactor number 1 was commissioned in 1977 and finished that year. It marked the first nuclear power plant on Ukrainian soil. Reactor 2 was finished in 1978, Reactor 3 in 1981, and Reactor 4 in 1983. 2 more reactors were planned, but in the light of the disaster, were canceled. In 1982, there was a partial meltdown of Reactor 1. There was only minor damage, and was repaired and put back in working order. The Russian government, at that time the USSR, hid this from the public until a few years later. On April 25, 1986, the Chernobyl nuclear power plant spontaneously combusted. This is footage from the scene of the disaster.
Блок номер, центральный зал блока номер 4. Включи! Выше! Держи это место! Держи! Держи! Где дым идет? Где дым? Вот так держи! Так держи!
Fire departments were immediately called to the scene. They knew that it was from Chernobyl, but they were not equipped with the right gear. Most of the firefighters came up with radiation sickness and soon died. Their top priority was to extinguish the fire and to protect Reactor 3, which was next to Reactor 4. It was put out with 5,000 metric tons, 5.5 US tons, of sand, lead, clay, and boron to put out the fire. A fire continued to burn in the core of Reactor 4, which lasted until May 10th, 1986. This is a recording of an emergency call from that day. The aftermath of the incident affected the nearby town of Pripyat. It forced all residents to leave their belongings and get out. This area is what is now known as the Chernobyl exclusion zone. The radiation is too high to go inside. You can go near Pripyat with the discretion of the Ukrainian government and private tours. It has been left desolate since the accident. There is a lead and concrete sarcophagus built around the reactor because the radiation is too poisonous. There are no plans to reopen the site.